The names and pictures used in this project have been changed to protect the identity of the student. Meet Colin. Colin's a new student in your high school Algebra 1 class. He has a big personality. He was cracking jokes and speaking up right from the start of school. Colin describes his middle school math grades as decent. He earned B's in the 6th and 7th grades, but his average dropped to a D in pre-algebra. After a few weeks of school, you have already become frustrated with how Colin takes your focus away from the rest of the class. He seems to need constant reminders to stay on task, and he does anything he can to get attention. He's constantly tattling on other students. Miss Robbins, she has her phone in her pocket. He didn't write his last name when he signed out to use the bathroom. The use of proximity during class seems to help. He failed the first test, but you saw that coming. He has barely completed a single assignment all year. One day you run into a colleague who teaches half the day at the middle school. His eyes widen and he says, "I saw Colin in your class the other day. Oh, he was always causing trouble at the middle school. I didn't have him, but every teacher was so frustrated. He cannot sit still, and when you try to correct his behavior, he gets so defensive he causes a scene." Feeling quite frustrated with Colin's behavior in the second month of school, you decide to implement 2 new classroom intervention strategies to help Colin improve his behavior in class and the classroom environment overall. First, you incorporate physical activity into Colin's every class period by assigning him the job of calculator inventory. When another student wants to use one of the classroom's 20 calculators, they must give their ID card to Colin, who will hand them a calculator in exchange. At a designated time shortly before the end of class, Colin will circulate the room to collect calculators from his peers and return their ID cards. When you are prepared to dismiss the class, Colin must approve the dismissal by indicating that he has collected all 20 calculators. You also agree that Colin is allowed to take a break after 20 minutes of focused classwork. Colin will quietly raise his hand to get your attention at the agreed upon time. You will either approve Colin's break or approach him to explain why his break needs to wait for a better time. If the break is approved, Colin will walk to the end of the hall and return within 1 minute. Second, you encourage appropriate alternatives to tattling by sitting down with Colin to discuss the tootling over tattling technique discussed in Jerry Webster's article on positive peer review. Colin is given a checklist of positive observations to reference during class. He will check off any behaviors that he notices and make notes of others that are not included on the list. At the end of the class period, he will pass you the checklist and you will review the positive report with the class while he collects calculators and students quietly write down their homework and pack up. If Colin's behavior still does not improve with the use of these interventions, you will seek the outside support of the guidance counselor and school psychologist. Colin's guidance counselor is a great resource because his role is not to be a disciplinarian, but instead to act as Colin's advocate. Where you and Colin's peers may feel frustrated and annoyed by his behavior, the guidance counselor can take an outsider's view. He can help to connect Colin with academic supports that are available to all students, but of which Colin may not be taking advantage. He can suggest that Colin become involved with clubs and activities at school that play to Colin's strengths, give an outlet to his energy, and teach some positive habits. The role of school psychologist is also to connect Colin with services that might support the improvement of his behavior and academics. The psychologist is a great resource for the family as well as the teacher. The psychologist can help open the lines of communication between these parties as well. If appropriate, the psychologist can aid in evaluating Colin for special education services. This could eventually lead to the development and implementation of a behavior intervention plan. This would happen through the IEP team and with the school psychologist's support. There are several key elements to a successful behavior intervention plan. One of those is student involvement and goal setting. With Colin, The team sets observable and measurable goals for Colin's class behavior. They agree that Colin will record his own progress with prompts from the teacher. They also agree on consequences and incentives for Colin's choices. This process involves talking through the steps of implementing both consequences and rewards. All members of the team need to feel comfortable administering reinforcement. The other key element to success with the behavior intervention plan is the involvement of Colin's family throughout the process. To encourage this, a strong effort should be made to accommodate their presence at the IEP meeting. It is likely that Colin's mother, who has primary custody, and aunt, who helps care for him, are also feeling frustrated by his behavior at home and his report card. Helping the family to understand the strategies in the behavior plan and encouraging them to set similar goals at home will provide consistency, and Colin will ease the family's stress and will help you, as the teacher, to feel supported. Finally, a schedule should be made for updates and follow-up. A copy of Colin's behavior log will be sent home by the guidance counselor at the end of each week. Colin's mom is encouraged to email teachers and schedule a time to talk by phone if she has questions about what she sees in the log. She will maintain communication with the school psychologist to ensure consistency between home and school.